Hello, this is a tutorial for how to add cards to my Weiss Schwarz Simulator. So in this game, the card data is all stored in these text files that define each card. So we have this character, this is ID number, the name of its image file, uh, card name, color, level, cost, power, traits, and then we define their effects. So here we have the card data file for the Konosuba movie. And let's use this card for example. So we have two effects on this card. We have continuous, give self. During your turn, if this card gets 1,000 power. So because this affects this card, the tag here is give self. This represents who this continuous effect affects. So when we say gain power, it's giving it to itself, but only if it's your turn. And the second one's an auto effect. When this is put into your waiting room from the stage, look up to 4 cards, choose up to 1 climax, add to your hand, discard a card as long as you reveal one. So whenever this occurs, so whenever this card goes from your stage to your waiting room, you will do this effect. So it lets you reveal up to 4 cards from your deck. This line just tells the AI why it's choosing something. So in this case, it's choosing a card to add to your hand, but right now the AI doesn't use this card, so you don't need to worry about the AI choice stuff unless it's a choice that's being made by your opponent. Uh, Choose cards from targets is going to open up a window with the cards that you have flipped over with reveal up to. And it says you could choose between 0 and 1 cards, and the card has to be a climax. When this says reveal up to deck 4, it flips over those 4 cards, and those 4 cards become targeted. So that's how this knows which cards to you're choosing from, is those are the targeted cards. It just always keeps a list of targeted cards. By default, it starts with itself as the target, but when you reveal up to, that sets the targets. So we choose a card, and if we chose a target, it will what? Oh, the reveal targets means it just basically shows your opponent which one you chose. Then it puts it into your hand. Put the rest into the waiting room. Check for empty deck. Discard one any. I don't know if we still need this, but this is just a manual check. I must have put it here because something wasn't working right, but you probably don't need to worry about this. Check for empty deck, and then discard one of any card. You notice these braces here. These actually have to be on their own line to work, so it won't work like this. It won't work. It was just easier to code it that way. So here we have effect for this no game no life card. There's 2 effects. Oh, actually, this I forgot. There's actually something missing from this. This should actually say combo welcome gamer here. You see missing that. Oh, there's a comma in this. This effect says when you play welcome gamer, if this is on center stage, drop to 1 card and this gets power. So on specific climax play, so when you play this specific climax named welcome comma space gamer, if this card is in the location center stage, you may draw a card. This is using a common effect for it asks if you want to draw a card, but only if you have the checkbox that says ask before optional effects. And then this card gains power. It has other effect when its opponent becomes reversed. If we played this card this turn, you may pay the cost. So the way costing works is the first you can put a number, and that's just the number of stock that it costs. And then we have discard 2. So you'll discard 2 cards that meet this requirement. Has trait game. If it was discard 2 of any card, you would put discard 2 any, and then it stands this card. And you can only use this effect once per turn, so it says times per turn 1. So let's set up the folder for our new set, this Weiss Schwarz game. And let's go to Weiss Schwarz data, streaming assets, cards, and we need to make a new folder. And I'm making this for Ophery, so whatever you want. And then in here, we need to make a new text document. We call it card data. And then we want to paste all of our images into here. Actually, there's one more thing we need to do. So up here we have additional set data. This lists out each set. This is so that the game knows where to look for each one. This is no longer needed, actually, because what you can actually do is it's basically the same thing. It's just the same amount of work, but you can make a file called single set data, and then just put the same information you would put in additional set data. So series is called O3. It is in and we need it. It can be found in folder, also called O3. Then we need prefix. This is BFR/S78. There was one more thing. Oh yeah. Set name. There's only one O3 volume, so we're just gonna call it that. So this should be all we need. So yeah, so now this appears, but if we search, nothing shows up because there aren't actually any cards. So normally you'd have to type out this whole thing with all these effects. You'd have to copy and paste those and type out color, level, trigger, soul, power. But fortunately, now we have a program that can read all that for you as long as it's an English set. So let's look at that program. You can find this on the Discord in the information section. This is the Weiss Schwarz viewer. Let's open this up. And we're going to find Beaufry. So we want to turn this into a set. So we're going to first set this path here. Downloaded card data, select folder, and then we want to download this set as text and hit download. And let's just do the same for the trial deck. Now let's go back to there. And now we have all these text files, one for each card. And we also have the main set. And now we have another file called for the file converter. And we go into the streaming assets for this. Oh, yeah, this actually still have. So you'd copy and paste them all here. Apparently they're already here. You open up this. We run this file. It's a Unity program because I just don't know how to make programs without a game engine. And we can copy this Control C, and then paste it into our card data file. Let's actually create cards. Open with that. and there's nothing here. So I'll just show you the long way first. So you'd look at the card, and then this is a character. Uh, you'll see like a lot of the sets, you'll see image line right here. That is actually not needed as long as the image name is the same as the card number without the slashes and dashes. And then it's ready for the effects. So the first effect is auto. Top card you can draw when this is placed on stage from hand. So that'd be on play. We may pay the cost of 1 and clock. You pay the cost if you search your deck. So search deck. For a level 1 or lower card, which is also a character. His character. And then you would put text, and then you'd type the whole text there. But there is a way easier way to do this now. So now let's just paste the output from that file into here. And now we just have all the things like color, level, trigger, power, traits. But it is missing a few things. It's of course missing the effects of all the cards, and is missing the climax combo markers. This is also only outputs the base rarity of the card, or it's supposed to. This is actually going, yeah, it gives us this one, which is a duplicate of that. Let's just get rid of this one. Save that, and now let's look at that inside the game. Go free, search. Oh, got one error. The image name didn't match the card ID. Other than that, looks like they all appear, but the cards won't actually do anything. So now let's actually try making some of these cards work. We already did this effect before. Let's look at the second one. When this card's opponent becomes reversed, this card gets power. So we put auto, and then we need to find an auto effect label that matches with when your other character's opponent becomes reversed. So let's go to the documentation, and let's go to auto effect labels. We want one for when your when your other character's battle opponent becomes reversed. So let's look for here. So attack related. Oh, reverse resting on other opponent reversed. Sounds right. So let's use this one. So we auto on other opponent reversed. This card gets 1,000 power till end of turn. So it's already targeted, but if it wasn't, you could say target self. We don't need that. So we could just say gain power 1,000. And we don't want the user to have to like choose what order this effect happens in if, say, your other character had non-reverse effect. So we can just put quick right here so that this effect, it won't ask you what order to put it in. We already talked about the first effect up here, so let's move on to the second one. If your waiting room has 2 or less climax, this gets -1 level on your hand. This is a very common effect, so it is actually found in the common effects list. And this is a common level 3 effect, which is early play. So early play 2 or less climax. The number of climax waiting is 2 or less. This gets -1 level in your hand. We're going to take this and we're going to get rid of that text now and put star and paste that. So early play 2 or less climax, that just coincides with that. Then when this card is placed on stage from your hand, you may put the top card of your clock into the waiting room. That's another common effect. let's just star healer. And then this has a climax combo. So we actually need to add one thing up here. So we could put combo. And this just, it doesn't, putting the combo line doesn't do much, but it might end up being important in the future. So making sure to always put it. It also makes it so that this will be bold on the card text. Uh, so when this card attacks, so auto, you would look through the common effects and then not common effects through the auto effect labels, and you would find that this is just called on attack. If loving sacrifice is in your climax area, so if climax, for the if statement, let's see how we would have found if climax. So we go to it is in their conditional statements. So we would look. So the one that tells you if you have a specifically named climax in your climax area is climax followed by card name. So if climax and then the card name. And so we put two and signs if you have four or more other game characters. So and stage contains four other. So stage contains, location contains. Those are all conditions that everything that comes after it is describing the card that it's looking for instead of affecting the if statement. If we instead wanted to check if this card was game trait, we could just put three and that will override the behavior. And now this would say if you have four other cards and this card has the trait game. But that's not what we want. We want four other cards with the trait game. Before the game here, this card gets 2e5 and the following effect leading to the end of the opponent's turn. So normally, if we were just to put gain power 25, that would only last until the end of your turn. So we put until end of opponent's turn, gain power, and we want to gain an effect until the end of the opponent's turn too. So we put gain effect, and this gain effect gives an effect to all the targeted cards. In this case, it's just itself. The character facing this is minus 2 soul. So we define this just like we would an effect on a card, and we want this to affect the character facing it. And you'd find what continuous effect label, and this is give facing. If there isn't one for what you need, you can just do global and then use if statements to find the exact card to affect. And so the character facing it loses 2 soul. And you'd find lose soul by looking in continuous effect lines. These are different than the auto act effect lines, of which there are hundreds. So it loses 2 soul, and we need to actually put this effect that gains needs its own text. So we can say text, and then you can just copy this text from right here. So this card actually has a second rarity. I actually don't like adding these secret ones, but I guess we'll do this as an example. We don't need to or want to create this whole thing a second time. We just want to make a clone of this card. So we will have this card, SEC. Then so we're going to use the clone command, and it's going to be a clone of, a clone of this card's name, and the clone basically just copies everything about that card, and then the only thing we want to change about it is the image. end card. So now this will actually show up as an alternate rarity of the previous card that we just made. Skipping ahead a little, this one is an act effect, or it has an act effect. Um, so let's go ahead and do this one. This one just gives itself during your opponent's turn, it gets 4,000. That's pretty easy. If opponent's turn, and then we have an act effect. So for act effects, you put act followed by the cost. This card's cost is 1 stock plus this card into your waiting room. So the command for that, you would find that in you'd find that in cost string, and send this card to a location. We want to send self to waiting room. Act 1, send self waiting room. And look up 4 cards from the top of your deck. Choose up to 1 game character. Reveal it to your opponent. Put it into your hand. We did a similar effect earlier with the darkness card, but there's actually a common effect for that. These common effects can also be parts of act effects, because all it really does is it substitutes code that's in another file for this code. So this is, I believe, let's see, this is look at 4, choose a game character, add to your hand. So that would actually be check 4, add 1 trait list. So we would put check 4, add 1 game. Now if this said like add a game or shield character, for example, we put game and then this symbol for or. So this would add a game or shield character. We just want game character. So this one, when your character's trigger check reveals a climax. We do have a label for when your trigger check specifically reveals a climax, but let's do it another way. So let's say auto on trigger check, just because this will be a good example. On trigger check, you could say on trigger check climax, but let's actually do it this way. Because this will introduce something. So if the card we triggered was a climax, so we actually need to ask if the other card was climax. Other usually refers to the card that triggered the effect. In this case, so we can say if other, and that will be testing a condition on the card that caused the effect. You can also target other to make the card that caused the effect the target of the auto. Say if other, make sure this is no space, because if you say if other, that's asking if this card is not this card, which will always be false. If other is climax, choose one of your characters gets 1,000 power. There's a common effect for this. Give character power or give other character power. Choose one of your characters gets 1,000 power. So give character power 1,000, and it can be any trait. So we just put any. But let's look at another way to do that, because it's not always going to be just getting power. You could be giving level or soul or anything. So the way you choose a character on your stage and give it something is like this. So we target our whole stage. Oh, there should be a space there. We target location stage. This will target all the cards the stage. Then if we wanted a specific trait, or if it was only for other characters, we could say narrow targets. And this would like narrow the targets down to only ones that meet this requirement. There is no requirement, but if it like say you could only give power to game characters, you'd say has trait game. If it was only for other game characters, you could say and other. Choose a game, it would be a game character that is not this card, but there is no restriction on this. And then, all right, let's say choose character from targets. And then we put a message for the player here. Choose a character you have 1,000 power. And then and then after this effect happens, now the character you chose is the only target. So it is the only one who will gain power when I say gain power 1,000. And then we have a brainstorm. Flip over 4 cards for each climax. Brainstorms are actually pretty complicated sometimes. So they're almost all a common effect. And this one just happens to be Act 1. Wait, Act 1, Rest Self. Pretty sure that's it. It'll tell me if it's wrong when I test it. So let's. I know I didn't finish that first one, but let's see if there's any errors. So to check for errors, we can just load it in the deck editor. Oh yeah, we have that error, but there are currently no errors in code. So let's cause an error in the code. Actually, let's find a good example. Let's find a card with bond. Yeah, so this random trial deck card, it has a bond. I don't want to get hurt. That. So it's bond 1. So that's going to be a common effect. And if the common effect has parameters, they go in parentheses separated by commas. But there's going to be a problem there because this card's name has a comma in it. So how does it know if this is the same part of the same card name as this? Oh, this should be bond 1. Okay, so yeah, so now we have an error. It says unknown command bond 1, but if we dismiss that, we get the error that actually should be showing us. Incorrect number of parameters because we have commas. Any card names with commas in them, there needs to be a backslash before that comma. So if I just put slash, we no longer have that error. And let's look at the cards that we did make. This one, even though we took out the text for these, it substituted the text from the common effects, and our alternate rarity has appeared. You're getting these squares here. Let's fix that. There's a quick fix to that. We just need to go to encoding. We need to change the encoding to UTF-8. And then now after doing that, these squares should no longer be squares. They should actually be the trait marker. Which when you type it, you can just use greater than, less than symbols in the effects. Yeah, so there's one more card I want to go through because this has some unique things about it. So we have this climax combo here. You may choose a level X or lower game character waiting room. So now we're dealing with X. So we need to count the number of maple tree in the waiting room. So to do that, what we'd actually do is target the waiting room. And then we need to narrow the targets down to maple trees. So narrow targets to name equals maple tree. And then X is the number of maple trees in a waiting room. So we use set X value target count. So X is basically you can use it any place that you could use a number and it gets set with set X, or you can add and multiply it. So we want to choose a level X or lower game character. So search waiting room. Search waiting room is just a shorter way of adding a card from your waiting room to your hand. search waiting room, compare that card's level X or lower, and is a game character. So has trait game. We don't need to ask if it's a character because has trait means it's a character if it has a trait. But then the second one is really weird because there's resonate normally only reveals one, and that's how it's programmed. Also notice that resonate is in all caps here. That's actually really important because if it's not in all caps, then effects that say when you use resonate won't work. But in this case, instead of just revealing one, you can reveal any number. So we're gonna have to actually be kind of creative with how we do this one. So when this card attacks, content, pay cost. Let's still keep the cost as resonate, just because I don't remember if it's resonate on use resonate triggers when you pay a cost that says resonate, or when it's pay the cost of an effect with resonate. Pay cost, resonate, loving sacrifice, maple. But we can reveal any number, so let's just make it once you resonate, it'll just reveal all the maples in your hand. So let's target location hand, because there's really no reason you would reveal less than the max number. Narrow targets name equals uh, so we're going to use reveal. There's two things. There's two types of reveal. There's reveal and there's reveal targets. Reveal returns the card to where it was after you've revealed it. Reveal targets keeps it out in a location called the scry area. But we just want to reveal and then put it back where it got it from. So this will reveal every card in your hand named Loving Sacrifice Maple. Set X value target count. So X is the number of cards revealed times 1,500. So multiply X value 1,500. This card gains that much power to the end of the opponent's turn. So target self, because if we didn't target self, it would be giving power to the cards we revealed instead of itself. Until end of opponent's turn. Gain power X.